why do people struggle to understand finance? I guess this is ultimately like, you know, why I do what I do, and why there's a need for what I do. I'm a firm believer that there's no reason why you should know things. And yet, when it comes to finance, the language of finance, the way finance works in a business, there's almost a presumption or a misconception that people should just know it. And they don't. And I totally understand why. There's an awful lot of information, there's an awful lot of structure, there's an awful lot of rules, but there's also an awful lot of variability. And unless someone has taken the time and the trouble to explain to you why we do things in a certain way in finance, I don't think there's any reason why you should know that. I think you then overlay the fact that different businesses will do things differently. So there is the scope within the rules, within the structure, for different businesses to treat things slightly differently. And then the fact that even within the construct of financial statements, so things like a profit and loss account, where and how you would see things will vary from one business to another. So is it a service-based business? Well, the structure of its profit and loss account, the names will be the same, but where we see cost will be different from a manufacturing business. So when you put all that together, fundamentally, people are just not confident. They're not comfortable talking about it. They don't feel like they understand it. And there's so much information, it makes people switch off. The other thing is, I think lots of people have a hang up from studying maths at school. So they have that kind of, I hated maths at school. When in reality, it's not really maths. Let's be honest. We now have computers. We're increasingly going to have AI kicking in, lots of software. You don't really need to do the maths. What you need to be able to do is understand the context and where something looks odd or unusual or different or excellent, or is it too good to be true? Because for most people, you don't need to know every line item in the account, but what you need to do is broadly, what is it telling you, and what ways do you have to get yourself comfortable that there aren't any surprises in there, that there isn't anything there that shouldn't be. And then how do you apply that to the performance of the business? So ultimately, people are put off because it just feels dry, doesn't it? It feels really boring and dull. You've got a big report, you've got a page full of numbers. So some of the stuff that I like to do is to make it more visual, make it more graphical, get it into a language and a presentation that people can understand. And if you then enable them and empower them and let them know that it's okay to not understand everything, but what you want from them is them to question things, is them to validate in their understanding from their perspective. You know, are they a marketer? Are they a production manager? Are they an ops manager? Are they a practice manager? Are they administrator? Whatever their job is, does it make sense to them? Well, they can only do that if they've been helped and shown what it should look like broadly, and what things might have an impact on certain areas of those reports. But we're not for 1 second expecting people to understand every element. So we use all this language and all this terminology all of the time in finance, and it just doesn't help people. We don't give people the context of why we're using it and why it matters and why we do certain things. And therefore, we're not helping people be at their best. Too much of the accounting sector, the finance industry, has operated on a knowledge is power kind of basis, where they put their arms around it and they're not sharing with people, almost for fear that they'll think they can do it themselves. I firmly don't believe people want to do it themselves, but we can help them and we can empower them.